Alive and Well STL is a presentation of the St. Louis Regional Health Commission and RareGem Productions to build a healthier St. Louis. Power up with the positive. Learn more at OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com. The Regional Health Commission works in partnership with regional health sector advocates and stakeholders to improve healthcare access, reduce health disparities, and improve health outcomes for the uninsured and the underinsured in St. Louis City and County.
Alive and Well, STL. By definition, a chronic disease is one lasting 3 months or more. The U.S. National Center for Health Statistics says chronic diseases generally cannot be prevented by vaccines or cured by medication, nor do they just disappear.
It's a chronic condition that I have to learn to accept and, in a way, grieve that it's probably not going away. I really work almost too hard for my own good, which puts me in a vulnerable state.
Alive and Well STL gets a first-hand understanding from a young woman still in recovery but learning how to cope with her chronic mental illness. This is producer Jade Harrell. We'll be right back. Who knew parenting could be so stressful? Sometimes it seems like you signed up for stressful when you signed on to be a parent. There's a natural tendency to put ourselves last. But when we don't take good care of ourselves, everybody feels it. When you start to feel them getting on that very last nerve, try this. Take a few minutes to play or relax when they do. Take 5. You'd be surprised what a difference a few moments can do to make you feel more like yourself again. And when we feel better, everybody feels it. Get tips to Take 5. Go to aliveandwellstl.com. Alive and Well STL. When it can't be cured with medication or vaccines, and the condition doesn't just disappear. By definition, it's a chronic disease. So how can you be alive and well? Alive and Well STL gets a first-hand understanding from a young woman still in recovery but learning how to cope with her chronic mental illness.
I definitely have my own issues that I try to work through, and I don't know if I'm at a place where I feel comfortable disclosing anything. But
you don't have to. You don't even have to say.
But I will disclose anonymously.
Let's do that, because what I hope this can provide for you and our listeners, even anonymously, is that connection to truth.
Yeah, I believe it's true. I know it's important.
Yeah, it's good for both.
But the stigma is real.
Is it? So how have you experienced it?
Okay, the stigma is definitely real.
What is the stigma?
I used to work at a dead-end job. I had a mental health issue.
Let's see.
I'm still...
It still hurts.
In recovery. I had 4 years ago a manic episode, and then was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And 4 years ago, I was hospitalized for a month. It wasn't 20 years or anything like that. But
still, it was unexpected.
I didn't see it coming.
Right.
But mental health issues run rampant in my family. So,
had you experienced that as a child with family members? So
my mother has schizophrenia.
Wow, okay.
Or at one point was diagnosed with it. My sister very clearly has obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, depression. I don't think she really gets treatment.
Is she aware?
I think she's aware, but she's never told me.
The reason why I asked, because, here you are. Are you 20 yet?
I just turned 30 on Sunday.
Shut up. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
But I say that because here you are, you're at 30 years old, but out of nowhere, here comes this.
Yeah, and that's how it hit.
And somebody put you somewhere to address it, and that's when you discover it. So, of course, I'm wondering, does your sister know what's happening with her? And then when you experience...
She and I have very different disorders. I would say hers is much more anxiety-based, chronic stress-related for sure. She has a lot, and probably has a lot of more physical somatic manifestations of her illness. And mine is very more... My anxiety isn't phobic. It's more we just have different outlooks. So I think we have different temperaments that dealt with the same kind of traumatic. Well, I don't know if it was. I guess it was.
It had to be.
Traumatic upbringing, single parent home, with a father who means well, but limited in his own way. So, I mean, we both knew schizophrenia was hereditary. It's pretty well established. And we both knew they could co-occur. I'm assuming she actually also is a social worker. I'm now in school for social work.
I was going to say, you sound like you've learned a lot.
I'm very self-educated as well. I'm only a first-year student.
Wow.
So,
I mean, just to have the understanding that you have of what's going on.
I'm very self-aware.
And
very I do a lot of me-search in the research world.
I like that.
Every paper is related directly to some experience that I've had.
Exactly. So I wonder, is that a response to the manic episode that caught you off guard?
What caught me off guard is that the manic episode seemingly came out of nowhere. And if you're hypomanic and you're in preclinical states of mania, it's almost reinforced by people around you because you just have a charismatic energy that's contagious. And so it can be very encouraging, which is why a lot of people with bipolar disorder do not seek any treatment or think there's anything wrong with them, and certainly go off their medications because they enjoy that manic state. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of a high.
And then, especially if it's something that comes on later on, then before you knew of any state, you were fine.
So I was very fortunate in that regard that I was already in therapy for anxiety because that was my this is kind of the
preclinical.
Yeah, I would say anxiety could be a preclinical. Not that it's a determinant, obviously, but it
could be an indicator.
It starts with stress, becomes repeated.
Gosh, there's that S word again.
Yeah. So that's why it's learning how to cope with stress is really the building blocks of mental health.
Well, let's start with those building blocks. What are the key building blocks to handling, managing, addressing stress?
Addressing my stress?
Let's start with you, yeah.
I'm still learning because now that I've moved here, I am seeing the recovered side of me, which is oddly very competitive. I think I used to be a lot more reserved and really wanted to be kind of mousy and unassuming. And now I'm the first one speaking up in class. You can't get me to really shut up but I also have this life experience that really informs my questions and that my fellow students really appreciate. So it's not, but that said, I really work almost too hard for my own capacity, for my own good, which puts me in a vulnerable state. I just had I have a psychiatrist. She said, oh, you're it sounds hypomanic. We got to adjust your meds. That flipped me out. Just hearing that word, because no one had said any kind of clinical term like that towards my affect or behavior since I moved here, or at least even maybe 2 years. So that was kind of a wake-up call. And what happened was I pulled 2 all-nighters on papers. And sleep deprivation is not good. And it's definitely not good for me. It's a chronic condition that I have to learn to accept and, in a way, grieve that it's probably not going away.
Right, which is a part of a new reality for you.
It's a new reality. And
how are you coming in terms of acceptance? Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of research now on self-care. I've downloaded a couple apps that I think are very helpful. Calm. I really endorse the Calm app. Okay. It has a 7-day free trial. I've been using it nightly. I'm taking much more seriously that whole, have a bedtime routine. Do your things, make your bedroom associated with sleep and nothing but sleep. I'm really, really adhering to that more than I ever did before. And, you know, when the doctor here said that hypo word term, I definitely felt like, and she made the adjustment to the meds, and sometimes I'll decrease the dosage. Like, there's some meds that have a little wiggle room, and, you know, I've earned a rapport with my doctors. They trust my judgment. If I feel like I'm doing well, okay, fine. But I think not getting fully enough sleep continuously will put me in a vulnerable state, so I need to make sure that I advocate for paper extensions. Or
it sounds like you've, especially with the new reality, have figured out how to make the adjustments to the life that you now lead. And
it's an ongoing adjustment.
Of course, but if we really look at it, all of us have the same thing to do.
Yeah.
So as a matter of fact, what you bring to mind is my grandmother passed away in January.
Sorry for that.
You know? But I can't feel badly because I had a wonderful life with her. A wonderful life.
But what's wrong with feeling badly? Sometimes.
Well, not badly. Well, sure. Okay, look at you. Let me give you the mic here. I did, and I allowed myself that.
Okay.
But when people say sorry for the loss, I want them to understand that I had more benefit and value and treasure than I do loss. And sometimes we have a hard time with that. But what it illustrated to me was that, we were seeing a therapist. He said, you'll just have to learn how to adjust to your new reality. Yes, you in this new place. Because there's nothing.
Yeah.
Even had she not passed, my tomorrow is not today.
Yeah.
And that's a new reality.
And it's so hard to predict that.
Come on, right?
It's nearly impossible.
On the full spectrum of things. You wake up, you stub your toe real good, you'll feel that all day.
Well, and what's so hard for me, at least, is I don't know when I'm feeling something that is unique to my condition.
How about that?
Or something that's universal.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone says something that is meant to be encouraging, we've all been there. I can take that and I can say, yeah, I think we all have. But I don't know if this time it's of biblical proportions, clinical proportions, phobic proportions, or is it an everyday thing? And that's the anxiety that I have.
And it's all brand new, and that can be very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking. But it sounds like you found the things, the tools, and the place of work.
Yes.
To get those things all in alignment. Because I love that it took me 4 years to decide to move to do this career change. Okay.
I was in a dead-end job.
Mm-hmm.
I was choosing between schools. I was searching iTunes for trauma, and I listened to all the episodes when I had that job.
Of Alive and Well?
All of them. I went through the whole list up to May. Whenever I moved from New York, I've stopped listening now that I'm here because now I'm doing homework. But I listened to every episode
from New York.
From New York,
when you were in a difficult place.
Well, I was in a difficult place, but more in a transitional place.
Right, because you searched and the answers then came.
Yeah, I was searching. Well, what school do I want to go to? And I saw.
How about that?
An alumni. And I wanted to know that there were like-minded attitudes. And I think you had a few episodes with trauma in early childhood, which is what I'm really interested in. And so I definitely listened to those. I don't know if I listened. Maybe I didn't listen to all of them. I'm not. Now I don't know.
I'm not going to hold that against
I listened to a lot of podcasts. It was a dead-end job, a computer job, like no interaction with people required at all.
Side note, the value and importance of podcasts.
Yes. I mean, I went through iTunes University. I started taking other classes online, just anything that could intellectually stimulate me, and that really anything that I was listening and consuming really drew me to social work, and that's
a big space of things. Yeah. I mean, of all the hundreds of thousands of things at any given point that you could have heard.
Well, I mean, I still listen to like dumb podcasts.
Well, yeah. There's a purpose for that.
Yeah. I have my favorite comedy podcast. I'm a huge comedy fan.
There we go. You love to laugh. Laughter is a part of your...
That is. And I have not been able to laugh a lot lately.
It has been a true pleasure speaking with you and having you share. And I hope it brought some encouragement.
It did. It makes me nervous because, I mean, so in my class there was a research class that they did this presentation and said, the people that are most stigmatizing of mental illnesses are mental illness
Is that right?
Yes.
That's shocking for me.
Yeah. Well, and it's people who know the depths of how it can go are the people. They don't want to hire those people. They're least likely to hire. They're least likely to rent to them. Disclosing your illness has real ramifications.
And that's something that you've had to come to do or may experience.
Well, I had to be told to stop telling people at my old job. I think that's why I didn't get promoted, even no matter how hard I worked or how little I worked. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was helpful in the beginning, obviously, because I was recovering, and they were very encouraging to that. But by the time I was really doing everything that they asked me to do, I wasn't getting promoted.
How about that?
And I left, thank God, and I'm doing everything that I've ever wanted, which is really validating but scary, because then that makes me feel so happy, and then I get so excited, and I have so many great conversations, and I'm learning so many great things, and then suddenly I feel, am I a little manic right now?
You're going to have to always question and re-examine, but be okay with it being a question, just like that chair is sitting there. I learned recently that we naturally are going to have reactions. That's a part of the machine.
Yeah.
If I said close your eyes and I made clucking sounds, you'd have a reaction. We do that. But where we are empowered is acknowledging the reaction and then deciding which way to go from there. So, that bothered me. Noticing it. Awareness.
Yeah.
And that's something you said early on. What can we do as listeners to make it better in dismantling the stigma?
Dismantling the stigma. Gosh. I think it comes from people that are... Gosh, it's a sticky one, because it's not only stigma today, but stigma of years ago, generations past. So when I was hospitalized and my dad gets the call from me, I called him on the phone. I didn't even want to call him. I wanted to tell him, it's going to be fine. So that's what I said. I left a message like, I'm in the hospital, but it's okay. It's fine. It's totally cool. Like, don't worry about it. He freaks out, obviously. Like
right, my kid's
parent.
In the hospital. Right.
And he already went through this with his wife. So, for me, dismantling stigma on a micro level is an uphill battle. So, I don't know on a societal level, systemic level. I don't have any suggestions for that. But I'm going to say educate yourself as much as possible in whatever works for you, whatever that education means. It doesn't have to be an academic education. It doesn't have to be reading every journal. It doesn't have to be memorizing the DSM. It can be spiritual. It's just, for me, it was education in a more academic sense, because that was the language that I understood. But we all speak different languages, so find your language. And the person who's going to care the most about you is probably you.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you.
I was an English major.
Okay. You cheated. You cheated.
We're excited to have you join us with the Alive and Well STL movement. Alive and Well STL is now a community-wide effort focused on reducing the impact of stress and trauma on our health and well-being. The research is clear. Stress and traumatic experiences are making many of us sick, and together are the leading cause of poor health outcomes. Take 5. Visit us at aliveandwellstl.com to find out where you are emotionally, share your stories, and learn more about stress and how it affects us. That's aliveandwellstl.com. Alive and Well STL is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.